Hi everyone, please subscribe my YouTube channel. Hey folks, before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button on my channel for more tailies just like this. I didn't put together the party to brag or make a statement. I did it because nobody else bothered to step in. My folks were approaching their 40th wedding anniversary, and my sister suggested a simple get-together. Perhaps just a meal, she messaged in our family group. My brother added a thumbs-up emoji, and that was the end of it. Weeks passed with no arrangements, no location, no initiative. So I stepped up. For 2 months, I researched choices for charters from Santa Barbara, finally reserving a boat with polished wooden floors and a private eating area for 30 people. I set up a live string and piano group, soft enough to allow chats to continue easily. I obtained 3 cases of thoughtfully chosen wines from a wine expert who specialized in seaside matches. For the blooms, I collaborated with a nearby flower shop to duplicate my mom's bridal arrangement using white tulips and ranunculus. When I showed her the reference picture, her eyes filled with tears. That seemed meaningful. The overall expense? $18,500. I didn't share the precise amount with my parents, just told them it was taken care of. They didn't ask for more info, and perhaps that was my initial hint. But at the time, I was fine with it. I stepped away from my freelance gigs, managed calls to suppliers, and created a seating plan to carefully prevent my dad from giving my cousin a talk on investments. Each decision was intentional, considerate not for recognition, but because I wanted this to be a time where we gathered as peers, not with me as the organizer, the arranger, the silent one who fixes issues, but just as their daughter completely there. The last invoice came a week prior to the occasion, and I settled it without second thoughts. Then, right away, my aunt texted. Her message casual, almost offhand. By the way, we're limiting the attendees. You're not on the list. I looked at my phone, convinced it was a mistake, a calendar mix-up. Then my mom's note appeared. It's nothing against you. Hope you get it. I didn't answer. I didn't phone. I just stayed there, device in hand, attempting to remember the last occasion they viewed me as kin, not paid assistants. I kept scanning the message, wishing it would alter if I stared enough. We're limiting the attendees. You're not on the list. No apology, no reason, just those phrases. I figured maybe my aunt had messaged the incorrect individual. I waited for a fix, a fast, whoops, wrong group, or even a fun emoji. Nothing arrived, just quiet. Then my mom's name appeared on my display again. I checked it. It's nothing against you. Hope you get it. That phrase hurt more than the initial one. It's nothing against you. I'd heard it previously. When they overlooked my birthday for 2 years straight, when they traveled to Yellowstone without me, claiming they thought I was too occupied, when my sister's boyfriend of 2 months received a Christmas meal invitation and I didn't. Always the same excuse. Hope you get it. Hope you get it that we forgot you. Hope you get it that it wasn't intended to wound. Hope you get it that you're just handy enough to handle our problems, but not enough to involve. I didn't respond. I didn't seek details or plead for a place at the event I'd arranged. Instead, I looked through my schedule, gazing at the reservations I'd set for their special day, food service approvals, wine shipments, band timings, boat entry hours. My name was on every communication, every agreement, every bill. Yet somehow, it wasn't on their attendee roster. I placed my phone aside and stood in my kitchen, uncertain about my next step. My hands seemed strange, like they belonged to someone else. There was no confusion to resolve, no mistake to amend. They'd made their decision, and for the first time in a long while, I understood I could make one as well. I didn't inform anyone about my intentions, not my buddies, not my siblings, certainly not my parents. I opened my computer and accessed the boat agreement. The refund period was still available, just narrowly. I emailed the manager, mentioning a shift in event details, and asked for the down payment returned. Moments later, I received approval. Next, I reached out to the band. The main violin player had been so nice, even suggesting to tweak their performance when I noted budget limits. I texted him, stating the occasion had altered and requested to delay the final payment. He answered kindly, saying he comprehended. The wine was more complicated. The wine specialist was already preparing boxes for transport. But when I described how the occasion had changed a lot, she agreed to stop the delivery. No return of funds, but no sending either. I could live with that. The flowers, already specially created, were non-returnable. I didn't attempt to halt them. Let them arrive. Let somebody else manage 24 setups of white tulips and gentle blue ranunculus. That wasn't my issue any longer. That evening, I sat on a pier close to my home, observing the water move under the marina's dim glows. If I narrowed my eyes, I could spot the port where the boat would have departed from. I imagined the vacant floors, the missing tunes, the sound of inexpensive plastic glasses instead of elegant stemware. And I felt nothing, no rage, no satisfaction, just a peaceful separation from something I'd once invested myself in. They'd made it obvious I wasn't wanted, and I ensured they'd notice my lack. The morning of the gathering, my phone began vibrating right after 6 a.m. I was still asleep, the sunlight hardly coming through the shades. I didn't pick up. My dad's name illuminated the screen, ring after ring. No messages left, just ongoing quiet. By the 4th ring, I turned the phone screen down. By the 7th, I placed it in a drawer and turned it off entirely. I knew what was occurring. The band hadn't shown up. The wine wasn't present. The boat never arrived. Their event was collapsing, and now they recalled me. I spent the morning like I had no obligations. I made coffee, ate without rushing, walked to the nearby bakery, and got myself a croissant, something I never did when I was occupied handling everyone else's issues. I sat on a bench outdoors, watching folks rush past with destinations in mind. I didn't consider the gathering, the visitors, or the instant someone realized there was no music or wine. I allowed myself to enjoy having no duty, no to-do list, no contacts to handle. At midday, I powered my phone back on. 11 unanswered calls, 10 from my dad, 1 from my aunt. It vibrated again. I let it ring once, then responded. My dad didn't yell or say sorry. He just said, I noticed what occurred, like it was some odd error, like I'd done something unexpected, like their message leaving me out never happened. I waited, then stated the only thing that rang true, it's nothing against you, and I ended the call. I stood in my kitchen, device in hand, anticipating the typical surge of energy after a clash. It didn't arrive. No shame, no sorrow, just peace. They'd used that phrase, it's nothing against you, like a tool for years, a method to avoid responsibility or results. Now I'd returned it to them. It wasn't about fury. It was about setting a boundary. For once, they were the ones excluded. 3 days later, I looked at my phone for the first time. No unanswered calls, no messages, no recordings, just stillness, like I'd disappeared and nobody bothered to search. Out of routine, I checked my sister's social media and saw she'd posted pictures, probably from our cousin Amanda, who used Instagram like a journal. The description said, a lovely day for 2 wonderful folks. But the shots revealed a different tale. No fancy arrangement, just an uneven yard with collapsible tables and worn plastic seats dragged from the shed. One image displayed a cooler on the lawn, soda containers floating in watery ice. Another featured a focal point of supermarket carnations, still in cellophane, jammed into a glass jar like a last-minute idea. My dad was by the barrier in one photo, arms crossed, gazing far away, his formal shirt a bit too snug. My mom stood with her sisters in another, her grin strained, eyes puffy, cosmetics uneven. I stayed on the images longer than planned, not from remorse, but interest. It was like glancing into a realm I'd been subtly removed from. They'd held their event, posed for the lens, and continued without a single contact to inquire why I'd withdrawn or if I was fine. That didn't sting, it made things clear. Those shots didn't sadden me. They made me count every job I'd accepted over the years without doubt. Every 2-hour trip to repair their garage door or adjust their thermostat. Every time I handled their taxes because I was skilled with figures. Every expense I covered after they brought it up casually during a meal, never to be brought up again. 2 years back, I paid for a $2,800 roof fix after my dad griped about a drip and glanced at me a second too long. I transferred the funds that evening. Nobody expressed thanks, except my brother with a thumbs-up emoji when the roof survived a downpour. I kept their HVAC service under my name from an urgent winter repair, covering the $315 yearly cost without considering until last month's bill jogged my memory. It wasn't only cash, it was my hours, my weekends, my early mornings spent locating the top deals on workers or materials they'd overlooked to prepare for. It was emotional labor disguised as assistance, wrapped in courtesy, never confused for affection. So I quit. I signed into every profile linked to my name, deleted payment options, ended memberships, removed alerts. I made contacts, shut down profiles, returned duties. It took an afternoon, and when I finished, I didn't feel blame, I felt liberated. That night, I went back to a partially completed side table I'd left behind months earlier. I smoothed it, attached the connections, and followed the outline with my fingers. There was tranquility in that task, in constructing something that didn't require anything in return, something sturdy, because I decided to create it, not because it depended on me. For the first time in years, I recognized how peaceful my life could be without someone else's disorder. A note arrived that afternoon from Amanda, my cousin. "Hey, your sister's claiming you ditched the event. That something's wrong with your mental state." I gazed at the words, not surprised, but still affected. Ditched? I'd organized every aspect, funded it, coordinated every provider. And now I was the absentee with an alleged crisis. They weren't just removing me, they were rephrasing me. I didn't wait. I accessed my receipts directory and forwarded Amanda captures. The boat bill, the wine purchase, the halted food agreement, my aunt's message stating I wasn't invited, my mom's follow-up saying it wasn't against me. I sent them in a neat sequence. She didn't answer immediately. Then what on earth? I had no clue. They portrayed it like you were unstable. Unstable. That term stuck more than the phone in my grasp. After everything I'd done, the second I halted, they didn't inquire why. They just created a narrative that fit them. I answered I didn't ditch. I wasn't invited. She didn't challenge. I wasn't aiming to stir trouble or gain pity. I just needed one individual to view the facts plainly, to allow it to be real beyond me. Amanda said she trusted me, that it clarified the absent wine, the missing canopy. They didn't bring up any of that, she typed. Of course they didn't. I put the phone away and the understanding struck, not comfort, not confirmation, just a fact that existed independently. 2 days later, my brother messaged, "Hey, web's out since morning. Dad's losing it. Know anything about routers?" I didn't respond. The following day, my mom, "Hi, Elra, microwaves malfunctioning again. Not critical if you have a moment." Nothing. Then my dad forwarded a picture of the garage door mechanism, partially disassembled, cables hanging, no text, just the photo, like I'd view it and hurry over. I didn't. I looked at it, shut the note, and returned to my shopping list. The asks continued every few days. Blocked drains, a printer not linking, lost tax document codes. Not one regret, not one reference to the event. They were contacting to repair items. They wanted upkeep. They didn't long for me. They longed for the complimentary work. I was finished providing it. I occupied my days with minor, serene activities. I constructed a narrow ledge for my corridor, went to a weekend swap meet simply because I wanted to, began retiring earlier without the fear of a midnight emergency contact. They used to see my quiet as a temporary stage, something they could endure. But this wasn't quiet. It was a limit, a firm barrier they couldn't breach. When they understood they couldn't, they didn't express regret. They freaked out. Amanda messaged me one Thursday, saying she was nearby and wanted to chat face-to-face, no obligation. We gathered at a calm coffee place near my spot. She appeared uncomfortable, not her normal vibe, and dove right in. "I think your mom's really attending therapy," she mentioned. "Like regular appointments?" I questioned. She affirmed. "She began after the event, after you went silent. She collapsed attempting to organize Thanksgiving. Nobody volunteered to assist. My dad informed her we're not repeating that. That's when she confessed everything, not only the event, but how she's handled you for years." Amanda stopped, then retrieved a creased sheet from her purse and passed it over the table. "It's from your dad," she stated. I unfolded it gradually. One unsteady, all-caps line in his script. "I'm attempting to figure out how to be a father." No hello, no name, just that blunt, awkward sincerity. It struck stronger than years of their artificial grins or courteous evasions. I slipped the memo into my bag and nodded. Amanda didn't urge, just said, "Whatever you choose, I understand," and dropped it. That evening, I sat at my workspace with an empty card. I didn't want to wipe away the distance I'd established, but I also didn't want to reject what seemed like their first genuine attempt. So I penned, "I'm not prepared to return, but I'm willing to try something authentic." I signed only my name, closed the cover, and placed it by the entrance to send in the morning. Months went by and the stillness remained. No turmoil, no coerced tasks, just room. I trekked valley paths I'd always said I was too swamped for, prepared dishes leisurely without eyeing the time, constructed a cedar seat for my deck, and rested on it each morning with coffee, observing the illumination change. I rested better than I had in years. Then one day a note arrived from my mom. Brief, straightforward, they hoped to meet if I was amenable. No requirements, no tricks. I considered it for a couple of days before consenting. We convened at a little diner midway between our residences, impartial territory. They were there already when I showed up. My dad rose as I entered, an ancient custom he hadn't lost. My mom appeared tired, but more engaged than I'd ever witnessed. They didn't dive into justifications or list sorrows like a rehearsal. They just gazed at me and my mom said, "We're sorry, Elijah, for viewing you as assistants instead of kin." My dad agreed. We should have improved. The words weren't refined, but they were true, and they didn't hurry to break the quiet. I allowed it to linger before answering. Thank you. I acknowledge it, but I'm not ready to return yet. My mom blinked but didn't dispute. My dad looked at his hands. I got up and they didn't grab for me. I departed without resentment or the urge to clarify. Some entrances don't bang. They shut gently, securely, and you realize you've always possessed the key.